Custom web fonts is a relatively recent invention that allow us to bring in style sheets with new fonts that we can use on our websites. That way, we're no longer restricted by the very limiting font families that used to be the only fonts we could use on the web. In designing this theme, I used 2 custom fonts and also a custom icon font set. The custom fonts is the sans serif font you see here in the title and also in the meta content. It's called Lotto. And I also used a font called PT Serif for the main body content here. In addition, I want to use the Font Awesome icon font library to make icons within my site. Custom web fonts are based on CSS. So to activate a new custom web font or an icon font on our site, we need to import that style sheet into our site. The call to style sheets should always be done in the head section of your page markup, and it might therefore seem logical to add these calls right into the header.php template. But in WordPress, we have a much more advanced option called enqueuing. By enqueuing styles and scripts, we can control where, when, and how each style sheet and each script is called and what dependencies each of them have. And enqueuing of styles and scripts is done from functions.php. In the previous movie, I mentioned this enqueuing, and here you can see it. We have a function inside functions.php, or rather an action called wp enqueue scripts. And this action runs all of these different enqueue functions. So here we have wp enqueue style, which queues up the style sheet for our site. And we also have a couple of scripts. So what we're going to do now is call in the style sheets for these custom fonts using these same functions. First, I have to go and find the actual style sheet. So I'll start with Google Fonts. Here I'm going to search for the fonts I need. So that was Lotto. Here it is. I'm going to add that to my collection. And then it was PT Serif. And I'm going to add that to my collection. And once I have the 2 fonts I need, I'm going to go to the bottom here and click Use. And this takes me to the page where I can define which font weights I want. And this is based on my design. So here I'm going to select thin 100, and then 400 normal and italic, bold 700, and also ultra bold 900 and italic. And for PT Serif, I'm going to use all 4. Once I've selected the font weights I want, Google Web Fonts will automatically generate a custom CSS style sheet for me that I can include in several different ways. So down here, we have the code examples that we can use. So I'm going to go and just copy out the link to this style sheet here. And then I'll go back to my functions.php file and create a new function. So I'll go and say wp enqueue, and then I'll select enqueue style. And here I have to set a handle. So that would be the name of the style. The common handle is mysimone style. So here I'm going to say mysimone Google Fonts. And then I have to say a comma, and then the link directly to the style sheet, which I'm just going to paste in. And then I'll end my line with a semicolon. And that's actually all I need to do to get this style sheet to queue up in the head section of my markup. Now, before I save, I'm going to go and grab the same style sheet from Font Awesome as well. If you're not familiar with Font Awesome, it's an icon font library that allows us to add really cool icons to our site as if they were fonts. Here you see you have hundreds of icons we can use. Now, what I'm interested in right now is how to get these icons onto my site. So I'm going to go to Get Started and scroll down. And here you see the easiest way of including Font Awesome in your site is to call the Bootstrap CDN style sheet. So I'm going to go copy out the style sheet here. And then I'll make another function, exactly the same, wp enqueue style. I'll set this name to mysimone font awesome, comma, and then paste in the URL. And here you see this URL is actually not complete. So I'm going to put http colon in front of it and put a semicolon at the end. And now I can save the file and know that now all of these style sheets are going to be queued up. But of course, you want to test that just to make sure that everything works right. So now I can go back to the browser. And here, when I reload the page, you'll see nothing happened. And that's exactly what you can expect, because although we've pulled in the fonts, we haven't actually told WordPress how to use them yet. To see if the fonts actually get queued up, we're going to use the developer tools here. So I can go right-click anywhere and select Inspect Element. And then I'll go to Resources, Frames, Local Host. And here you have a list of all the different things that are loaded up, including images, scripts, and style sheets. So if I select style sheets and scroll down, you'll see here we have a whole bunch of different style sheets that have been loaded. Most importantly, fontawesome.css, which is the one we just called for, and also this one, which is just called CSS, but you can see here it says Lotto, and when we scroll down, PT Serif. So that means we now have our styles queued up, and all we need to do is go into our styles.css file and tell WordPress where we want to apply those fonts.